Hey guys, Mike here. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about how often you need to fly as a student pilot. This is a question that I've gotten from multiple people, so that's why I'm making a video about it. So when you start your training, one of the things that you're going to have to calculate is your cost, and your cost will depend on how many times you fly during the week. My advice personally is to try and fly at least 3 times a week, and this is why. So biologically, you have something called muscle memory. Okay, muscle memory is when your brain sends information to your limbs, your hands, or your feet to do something based on a trigger. So your trigger could be something visual. You see something, or you hear something, or just reflex, and your brain just automatically tells your limbs, do this, and it does. It's done. All right, that's what muscle memory is. The best way to explain it, say for example you were learning to play an instrument, say a guitar for example, right? When you first start learning, say you're learning like the G chord or A minor, whatever have you, when you look at a note and you have to put your fingers where that chord is. If you repeat that same action over and over and over again, there will come a time where you wouldn't need to look at a note or a video or some tutorial to play that key. All you have to do is, if you saw the image of the note on a piece of paper like you've seen over and over again, your brain just automatically triggers your finger to do that action. That's pretty much what muscle memory is in a nutshell. Okay, so now how does this work with you when you're learning how to fly? When you take the same concept, say for example you fly once a week. All right, I'm gonna try to paint a perfect scenario here. If you fly once a week, keep in mind most of your flight training would be anywhere between an hour and a half to say 2 hours. Okay, so if you fly just, let's say, an hour and a half in a week, say you fly on Monday, that means you'd have to take 6 days off and then come back the next Monday and then fly again. Now, here's why this is a bad thing to do. First of all, as a student pilot, you're flying again 1.5 hours per week, and you're learning so much. All right, you can fly more hours in a day, but I would not even recommend it, because as a student pilot, within that hour, 2 hours, you're probably already overwhelmed with all the information that you're getting in. So the optimal is 1.5 hours. Now, if you take time off, you take 6 days off and then come back into the cockpit to fly, you're gonna have to relearn almost everything that you learned the week before. And again, the reason being that you need repetition. You need repetition over and over and over again, and you cannot afford to wait 6 days in between for you to repeat the same action. Okay, so when you do that, you forget things. That's just how it is. And when you forget things, you're gonna have to relearn it. That's why I said it's better for you to fly 3 times a week. Because when you fly multiple times, you get a chance to repeat the same action within a short period of time. You're not waiting a couple of days to come back. You're repeating it the next day or the day after, or whatever have you. And you get a chance to learn groundwork also. Another thing you need to consider as a student pilot is the airplane itself. So when you're learning how to fly and you build time in a specific airplane, you're going to in some way build a relationship with that piece of machinery. Okay, so and what I mean by that is when you're flying an airplane, you apply certain inputs and you get a feedback. Basically, you know how that airplane feels. You know how it feels when you're applying a left rudder, right rudder, or you pitch up or you pitch down. You know how heavy the airplane is. You know how fast or slow it goes into a turn, things like that. So, and again, for you to get to that point, you need to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. So when you take time off or you fly very little during the week, it's gonna be hard for you to get to know how an airplane flies. And I'll give you an example. I remember during my training, I took, I would say, a month to 6 weeks off. And this was like much later into my training. I was like post 70 or 80 hours. And I decided to take time off to work on my ground stuff or whatever. And I remember the time I came back, I decided to come back and just, you know, stay current. And I decided to go do a solo flight. So, because at this point, you know, I don't need an instructor. I can just go fly solo around the pattern. And here are the things that happen. So when I got there, I did my normal pre-flight. The airplane, everything seemed normal. You know, I did my pre-flight. I got into the airplane, did my cockpit flow, and the first thing I realized was when I was taxiing to the runway, I realized that I had the wrong shoes on. Okay, now this might sound crazy to a lot of you, but me personally, early on, I realized that it's better for me to have flat shoes on. And the reason for that is I'm able to feel the rudder pedals better. So if I apply my left rudder or my right rudder, I'm able to feel that pedal and see what the airplane is doing. So I'm used to having flat shoes on, except on this day, for whatever reason, I had my motorcycle boots on. And I realized that when I was taxiing the airplane, and I was like, oh shit, because the airplane just felt a little bit uncomfortable, you know, when I could barely feel what my feet was doing. And so that's the first thing I realized. And then I got the permission to take off. And I remember on my first takeoff, and I pitched up, I felt like the airplane took off earlier than it should, right? And also when I was airborne, just turning left and right, everything just felt a little bit uncomfortable. And these are the things that can happen to you when you take time off. No matter if you have 10 hours, 20 hours, or 80 hours, as a pilot, you need to stay current. So when you take a long period of time off, especially during your training, you're just gonna cost yourself more money. So again, my advice to you is try to fly at least 3 times a week. And if you can afford it, fly more times. I had a friend who got his pilot license during the 90s, and he flew every single day, 3 times a day. Now, I don't think I would advise anybody to fly that many times, but in his case, he had nothing else he was doing. He didn't have a job to go to. He didn't have a school or class to go to. This was his life. He had a scholarship, and he was able to learn that way. And he got his pilot license done in faster than anybody else I know. But again, my thing is, if you have the time, try to put in at least 3 times a week. Don't put anything less than that. If you fly once or twice, you might cost yourself more money in the long run, because again, based on everything I just explained, it's like when you come back, when you take a long time off and you come back, you're gonna have to relearn stuff. Oh, that maneuver we did the other day, we need to repractice it because I forgot. And again, that has to do with your muscle memory. For your muscle memory to be active, you need to repeat. Okay, so that's my 2 cents, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions for me, especially regarding this video, leave in your comments and give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and hit that subscribe button for me. Okay, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.